Be me, 32-year-old woman working as a senior editor. Devoted my adult years to comprehending the true nature of reality. Men have it easy. Always have. Always will. They get promoted faster, paid more, never questioned. Meanwhile, women have to fight for every scrap of recognition. Sitting in my favorite coffee shop on a Tuesday morning. Overheard two guys talking at the table next to me. One of them is complaining about something. Man, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. The constant rejection is killing me. Immediately assume he's talking about dating or some trivial nonsense. Roll my eyes so hard I almost sprain something. Typical male problems. Crying about having to actually try for once. Decide to subtly listen more because I'm curious what hardship this privileged person could possibly be facing. He continues, I've sent out over 400 applications in the past year. I tailor each cover letter, I network, I do everything right. I get maybe one. Call back for every 50 applications. His friend nods sympathetically. Same here. I was unemployed for 8 months after my last job. Did you know that most job postings don't even respond? Not even a rejection email. You just sit there wondering if your application disappeared into the void. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, this is still not that bad. Unemployment affects everyone, but men still have better job prospects statistically. The first guy says, and even when I do get interviews, I have to pretend like I'm not desperate. I have to negotiate salary knowing that if I ask for too much, they'll ghost me. But if I ask for too little, I'll never dig myself out of this hole. My wife makes more than me, and I'm grateful for that, but... He pauses. But I can see the way her parents look at me now. The way even she sometimes looks at me when the bills come. Like I'm failing at something fundamental. Okay, now I'm a little interested despite myself. His friend says, hey, man, it's not the 1950s anymore. You don't have to be the breadwinner. I know. Logically, I know that. But there's still this weight, you know? Society says we're equal now, that gender roles are dead. But I still feel like less of a person when I can't provide. I'm thinking this is just internalized patriarchy hurting men too, which I've written about extensively in my editorial pieces. Men created these standards, and now they're suffering from them. Tragic, but ultimately their own fault. Decide to interject because I literally cannot help myself. Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear. Both guys look up, slightly embarrassed. What you're experiencing is actually a byproduct of toxic masculinity. The patriarchy creates these rigid gender roles that hurt everyone. You're feeling bad because you've internalized the idea that men must be providers. But that's a social construct, not reality. The first guy, let's call him Mike, looks at me with this tired expression. I appreciate the perspective, but I don't think you understand. Oh, here we go. Classic male dismissiveness. I understand perfectly. I've written several pieces about this exact phenomenon. Men create systems that benefit themselves, then complain when those same systems create unrealistic expectations. The solution is to dismantle the patriarchy. Then you won't feel this pressure. Mike's friend, let's call him Jason, actually laughs. Not meanly, but genuinely amused. Okay, I'll bite. What do you do for work? I'm a senior editor at Morrison and Hayes Publishing. They both nod, seemingly impressed. Mike says, that's great, seriously, good for you. Did you apply to a lot of places before you got that job? Well, I was recruited, actually. They wanted someone with my perspective and background. Which is true. They specifically wanted a woman for the position to diversify their editorial staff. So you didn't have to do the whole application gauntlet? I had interviews. I had to prove myself. I'm sure I'm not saying you didn't earn it. I'm just asking if you've ever sent out hundreds of applications and heard nothing back. I'm starting to get annoyed at his tone. No, but that's not really relevant to what we're discussing. Jason leans back in his chair. Okay, let me ask you something else. When you walk down the street, do strangers ever expect you to help them with physical tasks? What? No, why would they? What? Exactly. So you've never had a random person ask you to help them move furniture, or carry something heavy to their car, or fix something that's broken, just because you happen to be there and you're a man. I'm confused where this is going. That sounds like people recognizing physical differences between sexes, which is fine. Sure, but here's the thing. We're expected to say yes. If we say no, we're lazy, We're not real men. We're selfish. There's this constant, underlying expectation that our bodies are utilities for others to use. Mike jumps in. Or how about this? When was the last time you were expected to confront danger? What do you mean? I mean, have you ever heard a noise at night and had your partner expect you to go check it out? Have you ever been in a situation where everyone looked at you to deal with something potentially dangerous? Not because you volunteered, but because it would be shameful not to? I'm thinking about my ex-boyfriend who did always insist on checking out weird noises, but I thought that was just him being controlling and patriarchal. That's not a real burden. That's men maintaining their role as protectors to justify their dominance. Both guys are looking at me like I just said something insane. Jason says, "Okay, you know what? Let me tell you about my day yesterday. I was walking to my car after work, normal day. I see this woman in the parking lot. She's clearly upset, pacing next to her car. I have a choice in this moment. I can stop and ask if she needs help, which might make her uncomfortable because strange man approaching. Or I can keep walking, which makes me an asshole who saw someone in distress and did nothing. So I stop, but I make sure to stay like 10 feet away. I say, 'Hey, are you okay? Do you need help?' She looks terrified for a second, then relaxes when she sees I'm not coming closer. Tells me her car won't start, and she's late picking up her kid. I offer to take a look. I know a bit about cars. But I have to be super careful, right? Because I'm aware that I'm a strange man and she's alone. So I'm trying to fix her car while also making sure I don't seem threatening. Making small talk about the weather, keeping my movements predictable. The whole time I'm thinking, what if someone sees this and misinterprets? What if she gets uncomfortable and I don't notice? What if I can't fix the car and she thinks I wasted her time? Finally it started, it was just a loose battery cable. She thanks me, genuinely grateful, and leaves. And I'm standing there having just done a good deed, but feeling anxious about the whole interaction. I respond, "Well, that's because of rape culture. Women have to be afraid of men because of male violence." "Yes, exactly, thank you." So we agree that I did nothing wrong, but am still viewed as a potential threat by default. Through no fault of my own, I'm seen as dangerous. My gender makes me suspect. He's got me there, but I push back. That's still a result of male violence. Women's fear is statistically justified. Sure, absolutely. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying that it creates a daily experience for men where we're presumed guilty, where our intentions are always questionable, where we have to carefully manage our presence to avoid making others uncomfortable. Mike adds, and if we mess up that calculation, even innocently, we can be labeled creeps, predators, dangerous. Our lives can be ruined by a misunderstanding. I'm getting frustrated now. Oh please, false accusations are extremely rare. You're more likely to be struck by lightning. Actually, I know 3 guys personally who've dealt with false or exaggerated accusations. One was a friend in college who hooked up with a girl at a party. Everything was consensual. They were both drunk, both into it. Week later, she regretted it and told her friends he took advantage of her. His reputation was destroyed. People he'd known for years wouldn't talk to him. Turns out she had a boyfriend and was covering her tracks. By the time the truth came out, the damage was done. I start to interrupt, but Jason holds up his hand. I'm not saying false accusations are common statistically. I'm saying the fear of them is real and constant. Every interaction with a woman has this tiny background radiation of, what if this goes wrong? What if she misinterprets my intentions? What if I accidentally cross a boundary I didn't know existed? What if someone sees something innocent and reads it wrong? This is absurd. They're painting themselves as victims. This is nothing compared to what women deal with every single day. We have to worry about actual violence, actual harassment, actual assault. You're worried about hypotheticals. We're worried about reality. Mike looks at me with this infuriatingly calm expression. Okay, let's talk about reality. When was the last time you were homeless? What? I've never been homeless. Right. Did you know that about 70% of homeless people are men? When you see a homeless person on the street, do you ever think about how they got there? I mean, I assume various circumstances. Addiction, mental illness, economic hardship. All true. But here's something interesting. Society has way more safety nets for women than men. There are twice as many shelters for women, more programs, more resources. If a woman is in a domestic violence situation, she has options. Not perfect options, not enough options, but options. If a man is in the same situation, people literally laugh. Male victims of domestic violence are treated like jokes. I know for a fact that domestic violence against women is far more common. Domestic violence against women is more severe and more frequent. Often true. Not always, but often. But that's not my point. My point is that a man at rock bottom has fewer resources and less sympathy. When a woman fails, society asks what happened to her. When a man fails, society asks what's wrong with him. Jason nods enthusiastically. Dude, yes. Remember when I got laid off 3 years ago? I told people I was unemployed, and the responses were wild. Women would say, "Oh, that's tough. I hope you find something soon." Men would say, "What happened? Did you screw up?" Like automatic assumption that I did something to deserve it. This conversation is spiraling into men's rights activist territory. I need to shut this down. Look, I understand that individuals have struggles regardless of gender. But systemically, institutionally, men have power and women don't. That's just objective fact. The wage gap, representation and leadership, political power. These are measurable realities. Mike sighs. The wage gap is mostly explained by choices and hours worked, not discrimination. Women tend to choose lower-paying fields and work fewer hours, especially after having kids. I cannot believe he just said that. Those choices are constrained by gendered expectations and lack of support. Women are pushed into caregiving roles and away from high-paying careers. Sure, absolutely, that's part of it. But whose fault is that, really? My wife makes more than me, remember? I would love to be a stay-at-home dad. I would love to be the primary caregiver for our future kids. But that's not really an option, because of the economic reality. She has the better job, the better benefits, the better career trajectory. So when we have kids, I'll be the one who keeps working while she takes minimal leave. Not because the patriarchy demands it, but because it makes financial sense. And I'll be judged for it, by the way. Other men will think I'm whipped. Women will think I'm a bad father. There's no winning. I'm trying to formulate a response, but Jason cuts me off. Here's another thing nobody talks about. The expectation of expendability. What does that mean? I mean that men are viewed as inherently more disposable than women. Dangerous jobs, who does them? Mostly men. Coal mining, deep-sea fishing, logging, construction. 93% of workplace deaths are men. When there's a war, who gets drafted? Men. Number 5. Number 5. When the Titanic is sinking, who's expected to go down with the ship? Men. Women and children first isn't just a saying. It's a moral framework, Mike adds. And if you object to any of this, you're not a real man. You're a coward. You're weak. You're shirking your duty. I'm getting actually angry now. This is ridiculous. You're cherry-picking examples to create a false narrative of male victimhood. Men run the world. Men have always run the world. A few hardships don't erase centuries of oppression against women. Both guys are quiet for a moment. Mike finally speaks. I'm not trying to erase anything. Women have absolutely faced systemic oppression, historically and currently. I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is that the lived experience of being a man today is more complicated than you think. You said we have it easy, that we're privileged, that we don't face real struggles. I'm telling you that's not true. We face different struggles, struggles that are often invisible because nobody wants to talk about them, struggles that we're mocked for bringing up. Jason leans forward. Let me ask you something. How many men do you actually know well? What kind of question is that? I know plenty of men. Okay, how many male friends do you have who've opened up to you about their real feelings, about their fears, their insecurities, their pain? I think about this. My male coworkers are all professional and cordial, but we don't really talk about personal stuff. My ex-boyfriends would occasionally share feelings, but usually when I push them. My dad certainly never talked about his emotions. My brother and I aren't that close. That's not my fault. Men are socialized not to share emotions. Exactly right. And who enforces that socialization? The patriarchy, other men, and also women. Think about it honestly. When a man shows vulnerability, how do you react? Do you respect him more or less? Is he more attractive or less attractive? Be honest. I think about my ex who cried once about his dad's death. How I comforted him, but also felt weird about it. How I found myself slightly less attracted to him after. How I hate that I felt that way, but I did. That's not fair. You can't put that on me. I'm not putting it on you specifically. I'm saying that this is a collective thing. Men are told to be strong, stoic, providers, protectors. By other men, yes, but also by women, by society broadly. And when we fail to live up to that, we're failures as men. But when we do live up to it, we're perpetuating toxic masculinity. Mike stands up. Look, I need to get going. Job interview, actually. Wish me luck. It's only my 50th one this year. He says it with a bitter laugh. But I want to leave you with something to think about. You said men fight for nothing, that we have it easy. Every day I wake up and have to perform confidence I don't feel. I have to act like I'm not struggling financially, emotionally, mentally, because if I admit weakness, I'm less of a man. I have to accept that my value is largely determined by my utility, by what I can provide, what I can do, how I can serve. If I lost my job, my health, my ability to produce value, who would I be? Would I matter? He picks up his bag. When you go home tonight, look up some statistics. Suicide rates by gender, life expectancy by gender, incarceration rates by gender, educational achievement by gender. Really look at them and ask yourself if the picture that emerges is one of pure privilege. He leaves. Jason is still sitting there. He's not wrong, you know. Look, I get it. Feminism is important. Women's issues are important. Nobody's saying they aren't. But you walked over here so confident that you understood our experience, that you could explain to us why we were wrong about our own lives. You didn't ask questions, you just told us what our reality was. I'm speechless. Genuinely don't know what to say. Here's the thing about privilege, real privilege. It's the ability to not have to think about certain things. You don't have to think about workplace deaths because they don't affect you. You don't have to think about custody bias because it benefits you. You don't have to think about the expectation of male disposability because you're not disposable. That's actual privilege. He stands up too. I hope you think about this conversation, not to change your whole worldview or whatever, just to consider that maybe the men around you are fighting battles you don't see. And that dismissing those battles doesn't make you enlightened, it just makes you ignorant. He leaves too. I'm sitting there alone with my coffee, feeling weird, defensive, angry, but also uncertain. Pull out my phone and despite myself start looking up the stats Mike mentioned. Male suicide rate is 3.5 times higher than female. Men live 5 years less than women on average. Boys are falling behind in school at every level. 70% of homeless are men. Men lose custody battles at overwhelming rates. 93% of workplace deaths are men. 80% of people in jail are men. Men are more likely to be victims of violence overall. Sitting there staring at my phone, thinking about every article I've written about male privilege, every conversation where I've dismissed men's complaints, every time I've rolled my eyes at a man expressing struggle, thinking about my dad who worked himself to death, literally, heart attack at 58, who never once complained, never asked for help, who I eulogized as strong and stoic and a provider. What if he was just scared to be anything else? What if he was suffering and nobody asked? Thinking about my brother who went through a horrible divorce, who lost access to his kids except every other weekend, who sank into depression, but everyone told him to man up, who I told to man up because his ex-wife deserved primary custody. Did she though? Or was I just assuming mothers are better parents? Thinking about every male friend, or colleague, or acquaintance, who I've judged for not being emotional enough, or being too emotional, for making too much money, or not enough money, for being too aggressive, or not aggressive enough. Realized I've been treating men as a monolith, as a power structure, rather than as individuals with their own struggles. Same thing I hate when people do to women. Finish my coffee in silence. Walk back to my office. My assistant, a 24-year-old guy named Austin, is at his desk. He always seems nervous around me. I thought it was respect. Now I'm wondering if it's fear. If he's carefully managing his presence around me, worried about being misinterpreted, sit down at my computer and open the manuscript I'm currently editing. It's a book about modern feminism and dismantling the patriarchy. Start reading through it with different eyes, seeing all the places where male experience is flattened or dismissed, where men's issues are only discussed as byproducts of their own oppression of women, which has some truth, but is that the whole truth? Get an email from my boss about the next editorial meeting. Look at my company's diversity stats for the first time in ages. Our entry-level positions are 60% men, 40% women. Our senior positions are 40% men, 60% women. Our executive team is 70% women. Never thought about it that way. We're always talking about being a progressive company with strong female leadership, which is great, genuinely. But did the men who work here have to be better to get promoted? Or did they get looked over because we were prioritizing diversity? Is that fair? Is fairness even the right framework? My head is spinning. Think about my last relationship that ended 6 months ago. He was a teacher, made decent money, but not great. I always kind of resented that I made more. Felt like he should be more ambitious, more driven, more successful. He told me once that he loved teaching, that it was his calling, and I remember thinking, that's fine, but it's not enough. Not enough for what? To make him worthy of me? To fulfill some gender role I claim to oppose? God, I'm an asshole. Spend the rest of the day in this weird fog. Can't focus on work. Keep thinking about that conversation, about Mike and his 400 job applications, about Jason helping that woman and feeling anxious about it, about all the invisible weight they described. Get home that night and pour a glass of wine. Open my laptop and start going through my own writing from the past few years. Article after article about toxic masculinity, male privilege, the patriarchy. All true in some sense, but also missing something fundamental. Missing the actual humans. The men who are suffering in ways I've never acknowledged, because acknowledging it felt like betraying feminism somehow. Like admitting men have problems means women's problems matter less. But that's not how it works, is it? Multiple things can be true at once. Women can face systemic oppression, and men can have gender-specific struggles. This isn't a zero-sum game, but I've been treating it like one. Feel this uncomfortable shame creeping in. The realization that I've been doing exactly what I accuse others of doing. Judging without listening, assuming without asking. Wielding my own victimhood like a weapon to dismiss others. Think about Austin again, my assistant. How he always apologizes excessively. How he never speaks up in meetings, even when he clearly has ideas. How he once mentioned struggling with anxiety, and I said, "Welcome to being alive." Like his mental health issues were trivial compared to real problems. Compared to women's problems, which is what I meant. I'm an asshole, part 2. Sit there drinking wine and spiraling. Not in a productive way, just in a my worldview is crumbling way. Everything I've built my identity around feels shaky. The righteous anger, the clear villains, the simple narratives. What if it's not simple? What if I've been obnoxious? What if men have been trying to tell me things and I haven't been listening? Check my email, and there's a message from a male colleague asking if I'd be willing to look at his manuscript. He's writing a book about fatherhood and masculinity. I initially agreed months ago, but haven't made time for it. Open the file he sent and start reading. It's actually good, really good, thoughtful and vulnerable and honest. Talking about the fear of not being enough, the pressure to succeed, to provide, to protect, the loneliness of male friendship that never goes deep, the quiet desperation of feeling like a failure, the assumption that his pain matters less because of his gender. I'm reading and feeling worse and worse about myself, because I know if he tried to talk to me about this in person, I would have dismissed it. Would have said something like, "Try being a woman." Would have made it a competition of suffering. Close the laptop. Can't deal with this anymore tonight. Go to bed, but can't sleep. Keep replaying the conversation from the coffee shop. Mike's face when he talked about his wife's parents looking at him with disappointment. Jason's careful explanation of helping that woman with her car. The way they both seemed so tired. Not angry, just exhausted. Like they'd had this conversation before and knew it wouldn't matter. And they were right. I didn't listen. I argued. I dismissed. I lectured. Exactly what I hate when men do to me. Lie there in the dark, having an uncomfortable revelation. I've become the thing I claim to fight against. Someone who assumes they know better than others about their own experiences. Someone who uses ideology as a shield against empathy. Someone who is, condescending. The word bounces around my head. Condescending, entitled, closed-minded, self-righteous. All the things I've called men, I am. Fall asleep finally around 3 a.m., wake up tired and disoriented. Go into work and everything feels different. Austin brings me coffee, and I actually look at him. Notice the dark circles under his eyes, the way his hands shake slightly. Hey, Austin, you okay? He looks startled that I asked. Oh yeah, fine, just tired. You sure? You seem stressed. He hesitates, clearly debating whether to be honest. I mean, yeah, a little. My roommate moved out, and rent is hard on one income. And I'm trying to save money to go back to school, but it's slow going. But it's fine, I'm managing. Before coffee shop conversation, I would have said something like, that's tough, and moved on. Now I'm seeing it differently. He's struggling, but minimizing it. Performing capability, even though he's barely hanging on. Exactly what Mike and Jason described. If you need any extra hours or freelance work, let me know. I might have some projects I can send your way. His face lights up. Really? That would be amazing. Thank you. Such a small thing, but it clearly matters to him. Feel like garbage that I haven't noticed his struggle before. Spend the morning in meetings being quieter than usual. Actually listening when my male colleagues speak. Noticing things I haven't before. How they're interrupted just as much as women. How their ideas are dismissed too. How they also struggle to be heard. Maybe it's not gendered. Maybe it's just corporate culture being shitty for everyone. At lunch, I do something I've never done. I apologize. Send an email to my ex-boyfriend. The teacher I resented for not making enough money. Hey, I know this is random, but I've been thinking about our relationship. I wasn't fair to you about your career. You're doing important work, and I diminished it because of my own issues. I'm sorry, he responds an hour later. Wow, wasn't expecting that. I appreciate it, though. For what it's worth, I always felt like I wasn't enough for you. Like I was failing some test I didn't know I was taking. It really messed with my head. Reading, that makes me feel sick. I did that to him. Made him feel inadequate because he didn't meet some standard I claimed not to believe in. Spent the rest of the day thinking about how to be better. Not in a performative way, but in a real way. How to actually listen to men instead of just waiting for my turn to explain why they're wrong. How to hold space for multiple truths. How to be less unbearable. It's uncomfortable, this recalibration. My whole identity has been wrapped up in being right about this stuff. Being the person who sees through the bullshit. Who speaks truth to power. But what if I've been speaking my truth to people without power? People who are also struggling, also suffering, also trying to survive. People like Mike with his 400 job applications. People like Jason trying to help while managing being seen as a threat. People like Austin working himself to exhaustion and apologizing for existing. People like my ex who loved his job but felt like a failure because of me. Go home that night and finally respond to my colleague's manuscript. Give him real feedback, thoughtful feedback. Tell him his book matters and he should keep writing it. He responds, "Thank you. I wasn't sure anyone would take it seriously." God, we've created a world where men can't even talk about their struggles without apologizing. And I helped create that. With every dismissive comment, every eye roll, every try being a woman, sit there feeling the full weight of my own self-righteousness. It's not a good feeling, but maybe it's a necessary one. Maybe this is what growth feels like. Uncomfortable, humbling, painful. The next day, I see Mike at a different coffee shop. He's on his laptop, probably applying for more jobs. I hesitate, not sure if I should say anything, but I walk over. "Hey, I don't know if you remember me." He looks up, recognizes me, tenses slightly. "Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I was dismissive the other day and I shouldn't have been. You were trying to share your experience and I made it about me. That wasn't okay." He stares at me for a moment. Then his expression softens. Thank you, I appreciate that. For what it's worth, your conversation has been stuck in my head. I've been thinking a lot about what you said. And you were right. I don't know what it's like to be a man in today's world. I assumed I did, but I don't. He nods slowly. Well, I don't know what it's like to be a woman either. So I guess we're even. We both smile. How's the job search going? He sighs. Got rejected from that interview. They went with an internal candidate, but I have 2 more next week, so fingers crossed. I hope you get one of them. And I mean it. Really mean it. Walk away feeling something shift, not absolution. I don't deserve that. But maybe the beginning of understanding. Maybe that's enough for now.